Hey everyone, welcome back to yet another video. Today we are going to recap what happened in week 7. There was quite a bit that happened, especially one game that I just need to get to, but we'll go one at a time like usual. And yeah, first up we had the Steelers losing to the Bengals 31-33. I did not expect this outcome. I thought the Steelers defense was going to do better, as Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers, they both played pretty good and pretty well. And Rodgers had 7.3 average. Joe Flacco also had 7.3 average. The rushing games actually did pretty good, between 7.4 average for the Steelers and 6.2 average for the Bengals. Can we talk about Ja'Marr Chase though? I mean, he was just used so much. 16 of 23 for 161 yards. If you guys had him in fantasy, y'all probably won this week. There is some other guys that did like as well for their positions this week, so you at least had an edge just going into the Sunday games. But yeah, this game was just a pretty good one. This score was pretty close going into the fourth quarter, as it was 17-20 going into that fourth quarter. And there's not really much else I have to say. Both teams played good. Next up, we had, I don't know what happened with this game, honestly. Just like with all the other London games, I slept through this one. Matthew Stafford had 5.5 average, which, how did he score 35 points with that? Oh, generally, how? Because 21 of 33, that's all right, but only 182 yards. And you got 5, you gotta have, and you didn't even get a turnover either, so like, what? It gotta be like special teams or anything like that. Let's go ahead and play by play. 60 yards, 79, 60, 62. The lowest one was 45. How? Because you only had like, did you like get no yards every other time? Is that generally just how it was? Because yeah, 0, you had 13 that time, 6. Okay, no, the yardage does not make sense. Anyways, yeah, I can't say that the Rams played that good if this is what happens average wise in this yardage. Jacksonville, garbage time TD, but that's really all you got. Yeah, the yardage was just so much better in Jacksonville's ends, and yet without a turnover, I actually just don't know what happened at all. At the same time, I just did not watch this game, so comment down below if you exactly knew what happened, because being outgained in yardage, but 4 touchdowns ahead, I don't know. Next up, we had the Bears, who's winning against the Saints. The Saints, Riley played pretty well, other than the interceptions. The interceptions brought him down quite a bit, but that's the Bears defense for you, man. And the rushing game was also stopped. Meanwhile, for the Bears, Caleb didn't play all too great. He did have an interception, no touchdown passes. Our rushing game really did hit, though. And yeah, that defense really stopped the Saints. I thought this would have been a closer game, but I guess when the Saints actually face a better defense than what the Bills have, I guess maybe the Patriots as well, and it's going to be a little bit tougher of a game for the Saints. And Bears, hey, the Saints are not that great compared to the Commanders. So, solid win. Caleb does need to play a little bit better, but at the same time, this is still a little bit early into Ben Johnson's offense. And we'll see what happens from there. Next up, we have the Dolphins losing 31-6 against the Cleveland Browns. The Dolphins, they even started winning Ewers for a little bit. And as of... Let me make sure this is right. Because I highly doubt that Mike McDaniel should still be in the coach. I'm not seeing anything saying he's fired. So, what's going on? The Dolphins are that much of a mess right now. Devon Achane is like the good spot, but everything else sucks. To the Dolphins, the Brown side of things. Hey, you actually scored a lot of points this time. Quinshon Judkins got 3 touchdowns for you. Dylan Gabriel still did not play too great, so I don't think this 31 points is going to last every game. Granted, it was also against the Dolphins' defense. And even with those 3 touchdowns, Judkins didn't do too great in yardage otherwise. So, yeah. There's not really much else to say. With this one, the Dolphins are just a mess. Next up, we have the New England Patriots winning 31-13 against the Tennessee Titans. Drake May, 21 of 23. That is extremely accurate. I think that is what I've been hearing with the Drake May beating Tom Brady or something. I'm pretty sure this is what it was. 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He just had an amazing day. 135.9 rating. The rushing game did at least pretty good. Close to 5 average. So, definitely not bad. It is the Titans defense. So, the Patriots offense was probably going to do a bit better. But at the end of the day, the Patriots ended up doing pretty good. On the Titans side, though, Ward didn't do too badly. He had an interception in there, but otherwise, this is at least a decent stat line. The rushing game, yeah, I don't know what to say with this team as well, because the Titans, they just are not good. And the only win they've gotten so far was the Cardinals. And then, who knows what happened in that game. So, the Patriots did pull it off. It was a little bit close to the beginning, but then the Patriots scored 14 in the third, and there was no other scores. So, yeah, Patriots win. Next up, we had the Kansas City Chiefs shutting out the Las Vegas Raiders 31-0. I think, let's let this total play count sink in. Let's let this sink in right here. Yeah, let's just let that sink in. The Raiders did not really do that well, even with the not even that much plays. They did pretty awful. 95 yards throughout the game. Let me go back. Yeah, 95 yards. And Chiefs got to just feast on the Raiders. They were able to just play so well that they couldn't even allow the Raiders to have more than 30 plays throughout the whole game. And Mahomes played well. Rashee Rice, he has 7 of 10 for 42 yards, so the yardage wasn't quite as there, but he is back. And again, I think he will be better in future weeks, but at least for this week, that's all right, considering he was coming back from injury as well. But at the end of the day, the Chiefs just did super well against the Raiders, and you can't really say much else. Next up, we had the Philadelphia Eagles winning 28-22 against the Minnesota Vikings. Jalen Hurts. They actually did it this time. They actually got points in every quarter. 19 of 23. That is pretty good completion percentage. 326 yards. Jalen Hurts had a day yesterday. Sunday. With Devontae Smith getting 183 of those yards off 9 receptions, and A.J. Brown getting 121 off 4 receptions. That's very good. In fact, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown had the only incompletions with that day, having 2 each. The Vikings, there's not really much to say with the Vikings. They are not that good. Carson Wentz has gotten to the point where it may be better to start JJ McCarthy, but even then, I don't think JJ McCarthy would be playing that well anyway. So we might see more losing from the Vikings. The rushing game is a strong point. I know Aaron Jones is going to at least attempt to make his return throughout the next 2 weeks, maybe even this upcoming week, again on Thursday, since the Vikings play on Thursday this week. Hopefully that'll boost the rushing game for them a little bit, because I don't think the passing game will do any favors for the Vikings. And for the Eagles, solid win. Maybe, again, it's not that great of an offense right now, but hey, you gotta win. And after the last 2, you needed it. Next up, we had the Panthers winning 13-6 against the Jets. Both QBs had a switch. Both teams had a QB switch in this game. Bryce Young did not play that well. Justin Fields played a lot worse. And when it came down to the switching, looks like Dalton did better in his snaps than Tyrod Taylor did. Granted, Dalton did play quite a bit less than what Tyrod did. But this is just a mess. Both teams are not that great right now. Bryce Young had another benching, and I don't know if this one's going to propel him to do great at the end of the season again, like he did last year. In the Fields, it sucks for the guy, man. He didn't play all too bad with the Steelers last year in trying to prove himself to be a starter again. Had a chance with the Jets of all teams to end up getting benched. He's not had that great of a career ever since leaving the Bears. Kind of sad for him, but this is how it is for the Fields now. Rushing games, Rico Dowdle had more carries. It's yet to be seen if Rico Dowdle continues to have more carries. He's in Chuba Hubbard, considering Hubbard was coming back from the injury last week. But at the end of the day, I think the rushing game is going to be the Panthers' main offense, and for New York as well. New York did a little bit better rushing, but Panthers did a little bit better overall. And now we get to the game that I was mentioning at the beginning of the video. Let's zoom in a little bit here, right? Let's zoom in a little bit. 7, 6, 6, 13. That's normal. 0, 0. What? 33 in the fourth quarter. What genuinely happened in the fourth quarter? It almost is like that, because the Giants was playing so well. I had Knicks on my bench for this game because I didn't think the Broncos was going to do that well. And admittedly so, they didn't do that well in the first 2 quarters. But then Knicks goes into like 30 plus fantasy point range from that fourth quarter. Like, what? Whatever, man. And Jackson Dahl played well. And Cam Scatterboo, he did pretty all right as well. The Giants' offense did pretty good. It's just the defense that the Giants had actually, because more so against the rushing game because Bo Nix still did not play that well throughout the whole game. And a lot of these numbers is probably inflated by the fourth quarter as well. Because 279 yards, 5.6, I can assure you that a lot of this yardage came within that fourth quarter that the Broncos had. Granted, they scored all 33 of their points in the fourth quarter. So this is a team I cannot take. None of these two teams I can take seriously at this point. The Broncos suck, but they end up winning, and the Giants, they blow those leads. Like, what can I say at this point? None of these two other teams are actually serious. Whatever, man. Broncos ended up winning. Next up, we have the Colts winning 38-24 against the Los Angeles Chargers. Yeah, this week's another week where it's like, yeah, Daniel Jones is him. Having 8.5 average, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Jonathan Taylor's doing great as well. 5.9 average, and the whole rushing game as a general got 5.2 on the day, with Daniel Jones blowing it. But the Colts generally just played well. The Chargers defense had no answers for the Colts. The Chargers, the interceptions, man, that probably what cost Justin Herbert from having an even better of a day. And the rushing game is just not that good right now. Granted, their top 2 players are injured between Harris for the rest of the season and Omarion Hampton for a lot of it. But so it's being all on Herbert. And he had nice yardage, 7.6 isn't that bad, but those interceptions cost them. And this is not a team that I can confidently say will win they'll make it to be oh, they're going to be the 1 seed, all that stuff, or just win their division. They'll probably end up being a wild card, but I just can't see them winning the division, especially with the Chiefs having Rashee Rice back. But yeah, there's not really much else to say. Next up, we have the Dallas Cowboys winning 44-22 against the Commanders. The Commanders side of things, Daniels has played all right. He only had 12 of 22 though, which is not that great. 2 sacks. And Mariota ended up playing as well since Daniels got hurt, and he did quite a bit worse. In the rushing game, at least did their part, but couldn't really stop the Cowboys' offense at all. And as Prescott had 8.8 yards in his average, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And the rushing game for Dallas continues to do their part as well. I figured that the better offense was going to win this game, being Dallas, and that actually did happen, but not to this extent to what I thought. I did not think the Commanders was only going to have 22 points against Dallas' defense. But at this point, you guys can question how well the Commanders are going to do throughout the season, because they are the losing record now, and it looks like Jaden Daniels is a little bit beat up again. So you got to consider if they're even going to make the playoffs this year. Next up is the game that I told you guys exactly how it was going to happen within the picks video, with the Packers winning 27-23. Maybe I didn't say the score, but based on how close it would be. Jordan Love, 6.2 average. So rushing game did their part, 4.1. That part at least seems a little bit more sense. But then the Cardinals played up to competition again. In 7.8 average from Jacoby Brissett. The rushing game was not really that great, only 3.4. Overall, this went exactly how I thought. Cardinals would play up to competition, but the Packers would still end up winning. The Cardinals did have a late try at a touchdown, but the guy was out of bounds. He was like extremely out of bounds in that one play. So the Packers just keep getting these wins against these not too great teams. And they have the Steelers next week, which will absolutely test them. And are the Packers really that good? I don't think so. The questions that I had coming into the season has been there throughout the whole season outside of those first 2 weeks. And now that the Commanders are not really being that great, I guess really the first week. But yeah, Packers will continue to win close games, and Cardinals will just continue to play up and down to the competition. Next up, we had the 49ers winning 20-10 against the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons, they just did not play that great last week. They had an absolute showing out of Bijan and Drake London the week before. Well, London went 4 of 10 for 42 yards, and Bijan, he only mustered up 40 yards in rushing and 52 more receiving. Penix did not play that great, and admittedly, the 49ers defense is better than the Bills defense, so there at least has some part where it makes sense, but at the end of the day, it's just not really that great on the Falcons side of things. They'll probably just end up being in the midst of the wild cards. They may get in, they may not, depending on how well other teams do, but that's probably just going to be how the Falcons season is. The 49ers, Mac Jones didn't play all too great, but CMC actually had a good game today, this time. 129 yards, 5.4 average, 2 touchdowns. This is the Christian McCaffrey that we were expecting to at the beginning of the season. He hasn't been like that throughout so far, but this week showed that he does still have it. Does he continue on from this week? Who knows? But if McCaffrey starts to play like this every game, then you can see exactly why I had the 49ers at like 13-4 going into the season. Granted, I did not expect as many injuries, but yeah. Next up, we have the Detroit Lions winning 24-9 against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yeah, the Lions defense really did their part this game. Baker Mayfield only had 4.6 average. There is quite a bit of injuries though, so we can relax. Emeka Egbuka had 12 targets, only got 4 receptions. Granted, he was a little bit injured coming into this week. Mike Evans, he came back but got injured again. Had on my fantasy team, one of the fantasy teams, but that sucks that he ended up being injured. And he may end up missing the rest of the season, so hope Evans does better. But the Buccaneers just did not play good. Meanwhile, for the Lions, Jared Goff played all right, having 241, 8.3 average. Jahmyr Gibbs, he had that big rushing touchdown. And 78-yarder. That was a really good play. And even if you take that one out, he still ended up having a pretty good yardage for just 16 carries. Let me do the math real quick. Okay, maybe it's not too much, too great, because that's less than 60 still. But hey, you know what? You'll take it. Amon Ra, he had 6 of 10 for 86. Jahmyr Gibbs also had 82 yards off 3 targets. And the Lions just did enough to beat the Bucs. The Bucs are heavily injured, so you may end up seeing a little bit more losses coming out of them for right now with their injuries. But once they get healthy again, they'll probably end up being that dominant team that wins their division. But I can't say that they'll win the conference at all since they are pretty injured right now. But yeah. And finally, we had the 9 o'clock game between the Houston Texans and the Seattle Seahawks, with the Seahawks winning 27-19. CJ Stroud had 23 of 49. He did not play that well. Granted, it was against Seattle's defense, and the rushing game did not really play that great either. The Texans did have a defensive touchdown in the mix there, so you got to consider that part when looking at the final score. The Seahawks, 17-31, and for Donald, he didn't play all too great. The Texans defense is pretty good as well, so we can cut some slack. But you know what? The Seahawks actually ended up doing something right for Seattle last night, and after the Mariners lost the championship series for the American League last night. And then I was also paying attention to that since outside of Chicago, I am more so with Toronto for sports teams. So, hey, you know what? Both Seattle games went exactly how I wanted it to. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video. Please hit the like button if you liked this video. Subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.